adequate progress in my mind. And there are obstacles. That's the first I've heard is explicitly said, well, it's really this insurance and the money issue. And if we'd heard that during budget time, I would have proposed that we put that money in the budget. And I will this year, because I think this is really crucial to get done. I think it's a really crucial service. And it's tough to work out, but I think we have to do it. It's very concrete. And we can continue to talk about whether we believe that. And during the budget process and the town meeting, we could take it up as well. But at this point, it's on our goals, and we're not getting there. And I would like us to redouble our efforts to get there.
Can I ask a newbie question? I feel like when I've seen the meetings where there's a review of the goals, comes pretty late in the agenda. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
That is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I wonder if maybe we can be intentional about when we're reviewing goals that we put it early enough in the agenda so that we have the energy and the brains to actually really review them. I mean, I know there's a lot. We probably can't go through every single one in detail, but, you know.
Mm-hmm. Where's it going to land under unfinished business all the time, right? Or does it roll into new business?
Yeah, it appears each time it pops up for a quarterly update, it falls into new business. The reason why you see it come late, and you'll see that generally, like your appointments to committees and boards is always near the end as well. The structure is intended to accommodate folks who are coming from the community for an item before we do our sort of internal town business.
I see.
And so that's why the goals have always come late. I'm not suggesting that the goals always need to come late or that even that general principle needs to continue to apply, but that's how we've tried to structure the agendas over the years.
Okay.
Does it have to land under new business? Because it's kind of unfinished, isn't it? This is like, you don't have to, we can take that off.
Sort of the
really.
quintessential unfinished business, but typically what you would do is each time, just in the proper organization of an agenda, you'd have the first time that an item's appearing be new business, and then if you defer it, because you didn't finish the conversation, it would show up the next time on unfinished.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that show up under new business that are projects that are unfinished, but the piece of business is new to select board action.
Thank you for that. Is there?
2 more.
All right.
Well, these are our goals. We waited a month or more to talk about them. So
Go for it.
Under the sustainability officer, I understand that the Energy Committee has got a separate committee, and the Energy Committee, and working with Peter to come up with a description of that. And I wanted to ask that we get, and maybe it would be in our July update, since it's not very far away. We're only meeting once in July, and I may not be here, so that might not work. But for us to get an early look at that, in case it's going off in a direction that is not what we had in mind.
Actually, it's a pretty mature process already at this point, and I would expect that in the middle of the summer, whether that'll be July 9th or whether it'll be August 6th, I would expect that one of those meetings you'd likely see the whole item, and be able to decide whether you like it or whether you want some reworking.
Right. Yeah. My concern is one of the things I was told about the process by the people in it is that it's been difficult to get a broad range of input or input from a broad range of our demographic in the community, and I would like to know that what's happening in that sense, who's been included in the process and how broad the representation is.
Sure.
Because this is a broad concept.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The citizens group, there is a group of active citizens that is an informal gathering. They're not, there's no structure.
It's not a town committee. Yeah.
To it, right. And, but they've been really diligently working through a process of getting a couple of different documents ready to bring to you to have express a community vision for the position. Meanwhile, we're doing some work internally around what it would look like in terms of how it would fit into our organizational structure and operate within town government. And we expect together to present to you in the middle of the summer.
Great.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, I thought so, because that's when the job opens up. I just would like it to maybe get a draft or some information about what's being considered.
Sure.
This doesn't all have to happen there. I would rather not do this with their proposal. I'd rather have it ahead of time and be able to think through and get some questions answered rather than have to ask every one of them.
Sure.
And the other,
Maybe you and I can talk offline, and I think actually benefit from talking directly with the citizens, because I'm interacting with them, but they're doing their own thing.
right, yeah,
And
and
we're doing our
I've been seeing the
administrative
minutes too.
piece of it as well.
Yeah. And the last one is actually the last one, the public outreach about updating, improving the town's website. Wondering if there's a way that we could I'm not sure who we could survey or how we could survey, or if there's a way to trace it electronically on the site, but what kinds of things are people coming and looking for?
You can trace that.
Yeah, great. And just to use that to guide it. And then we haven't really talked about what we want the website to be able to do, what kinds of, what we want to feature, how we want to have it. So we might want to, typically organizations do that before they make significant changes to the websites. So those are my questions and concerns.
Great, thank you, David. Are there further comments on the board about the goals?
No. Well, I don't think so. I think we covered, my concern was getting Project CARE mentioned during that one, and
Yep.
whatever you guys thought as well, the AIDS project thing, and others.
And others, yeah.
But that was my main concern.
Great.
And to reiterate that these, if it doesn't appear on this page, doesn't mean it's not going to get done.
Great clarifying point.
We do lots of things that don't
We
appear on our
do.
goals. So.
Further comments, or any comments besides Chief Fitzgerald, who already spoke? Any other comments? Okay. So it looks like we're going to need two motions.
I'm sorry, you want me to identify what has been proposed to change?
I think if you wanted to recap that
Okay.
before we make a motion, I think that's prudent.
Okay, so there was quite a bit of discussion about different items, but at least in my notes, I want to make sure that it's what the five of you intend. The only changes that were actually made to the wording of the items are in the two opioids items. And they would now read this way. Number one would say, continue to support interagency efforts in the opiate crisis through active collaboration, raising awareness of unmet needs, and communicating effective strategies.
Great.
And the second one would read, consider additional town funding for Project CARE and other opioid-related initiatives with Groundworks, Turning Point, and the AIDS Project of Windham County.
Okay.
I think it's the AIDS Project of Southern Vermont.
Of Southern Vermont? Okay, sorry.
Did I mention Project CARE?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yep, it was the first, it's now the first thing mentioned.
That threw me off. Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. So let's vote on that, and then Peter, if you could walk us through wording after we've approved potentially these goals, if you could walk through wording for
Sure.
Liz for our next
Yep.
motion. Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve our select board goals for 2019-2020 as modified. The modifications are to text regarding the section that speaks to opiates, and Peter has just read those on the public record. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Sure,
Yes. You keep, never mind.
go right ahead.
I have a feeling you're changing up the way we traditionally do it, and
What do
that's
you
quite
mean?
all right. Do you want me to reread what you just said?
Yes. No, I don't. I'm doing it my way.
So moved.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
I said I would entertain a motion, didn't I?
It's more efficient, right? Maybe it is, yeah.
It is. Good. Okay, so now we're going
The mailing?
to discuss the mailing, yes, and the right motion for that.
So I believe that the motion that Liz wants to make, and at least my understanding of what the project is that you'd like us to undertake, would be to authorize staff to expend an amount not to exceed $6,000 to distribute town-wide, to mail to all addresses in town, the Project CARE brochure, accompanied by a cover letter from Chief Fitzgerald.
That is.
Okay.
Excellent. Do you so make that motion?
I so move.
Wonderful. Liz has made a motion to approve funding to mail out the Project CARE flyer with an attached cover memo from Chief Fitzgerald to all mailing addresses within the town of Brattleboro. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Any opposed? Better not be. Okay, great. Motion carries.
But okay with you? Should check in with Kelly.
Gets it right.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
They've all got to be handwritten.
At least you were in the room. I mean, that's at least something when you're assigned work. Okay. Excellent. So we are still under new business, and we are moving on to the parade permit for Brattleboro Goes Forth, because we are already moving on to that part of the year.
Indeed we are.
Okay, Peter.
So the staff has reviewed this. It is, the plans for the parade are the same as you're used to from the traditional parade we've had for many years. And we are asking that the select board formally approve this evening the permit for the parade to be held on July 4th. And we also encourage all select board members who are going to be in town that day to march as a unit.
And it's fun.
It's fun. Is that a warmed
It is fun. The
meeting?
kids love it.
That's happened in the past. It's a lot of fun.
You can carry the select board banner, or you can make up your own fun sign, which is what I did.
We have a banner that
Yeah.
identifies you as the Brattleboro Select Board.
It's very fun and a little bit hot.
Some of us do it every year.
Some of us do it every year.
That's right. I'm going to leave that up there and just let it.
That's great. Good public shaming for it. Excellent. Is there a conversation on the board?
I would like to thank Kevin O'Connor and the O'Connor family for their continued organization and support of this event.
Excellent. Wonderful point. Thank you very much to Kevin and the O'Connor family for the year after year enjoyment that we get to have on the 4th of July. Are there comments in the public about the 4th of July parade permit that we potentially might approve in the next 30 seconds? Okay.
Or 20 even.
So if not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Oh. Aren't you cute? Yes.
Well,
Jump right in
to
there,
approve,
Russell.
I'll make a motion to
He's going to
approve a
transition
parade
to the
permit
new demotion here.
for
More
the
activity.
By the People Brattleboro Goes Forth parade on July 4th, 2019.
Excellent. Tim made a motion to approve the parade permit for the By the People Brattleboro Goes Forth parade on July 4th, 2019. All those in favor? Aye.
None.
Any opposed? No. All right, moving on to my least favorite topic on the agenda. It is the annual dog warrant.
Man.
Please do.
So the town administers the local portion of a program that applies statewide for dogs to be registered. Part of the registration process, or licensed, I should say, part of the licensing process is to prove that dogs have been vaccinated for rabies and other diseases. So it's an important public health matter, and this is actually a really good example. We talk here not infrequently about Dillon's rule and home rule, self-governance. This is a really good example of Dillon's rule down into the weeds, where the state is very precise about what is required in the dog licensing program and what can be charged for the fee for a dog license, and how the enforcement occurs when someone doesn't license their dog. And because of that, one of the steps in this process, so the deadline for people to relicense their dogs for each year is April 1st. That has come and gone. The people that are on the list this evening with their dogs have received multiple notices from the town reminding them that they're overdue and they need to pay. They have not yet paid. And so now enforcement, field enforcement begins. Part of that under the state statute could, in an extreme situation, include a penalty up to and including euthanizing the dog. That always has caused a lot of consternation, and this matter comes before the select board. We've assured you every year, your predecessors every year, and we are pleased to assure you this evening that the town has never euthanized a dog, and the town never will euthanize a dog, but we're required to use the state specified language in your adoption of the warrant that allows us to go out and in a gentler manner enforce the requirement that people license their dogs.
Thank you for that, Peter. As an avid dog lover, I loathe the verbiage that the state forces us via Dillon's rule to read at this meeting every year.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't understand the column that says expires. What does that mean? If it's
We're
well
pretty
into the
sure.
future.
We were actually asked that question just before the meeting. We're not 100% sure, but we're about 99% sure that that's the expiration of the rabies vaccination.
Not the dog.
Because of some of these are actually a couple of years out, and the rabies vaccination is usually for 3 years, we think that that's likely the answer to that question.
So this is primarily a public health matter.
It's entirely a public health matter.
So I can very well support that.
Great. Any further comments on the board about this?
So if folks don't license their dog, now what happens?
I think they get a fee.
They get a fine.
Oh.
Yeah, there's an additional financial penalty once they are brought into compliance. Yeah, Chief?
I won't comply.
The process usually consists of the town clerk will send out 2 notices, and if you're on this list, you've already received 2 notices. Our animal control officer, Kathy Burrows, will now try to contact first by phone to find out certain, things change within households. They may no longer have the animal, they may have just forgot or whatever, everything like that. So it's done very compassionately. Kathy does a really great job. She calls
Yes,
them
she
up,
does.
basically says, hey, you know, your dog needs to get registered. Do you still have the dog? And
This one.
she does it very, very well. And once she goes through the list, she will go back and then give you a warning. And then she'll start issuing a ticket where you would pay a financial fine. But it very rarely, I can honestly say, it's a 10-page list, and it looks daunting, and it is. It's time-consuming for her throughout the week, but very rarely towards the end. There's literally just a handful of people that we reach to that, habitual, repetitive writing a ticket to. Very, very. I spoke with her this afternoon about this because I figured there'd be some questions on that, especially the euthanasian part. But it's a very compassionate how she handles it, and I feel comfortable that by the time you start paying some money, you've been fairly warned quite a few times.
Thank you for that. Kathy is a good example of how lucky we are to have compassionate staff that work so hard with our community members to help them get where they need to be. Is there further discussion on this? Okay. Hearing none. I would entertain a motion to approve the annual dog warrant as presented.
Move we approve the annual dog warrant as presented.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So our next item is, thank you very much, the award contract for the downtown design plan. And with us tonight, we have Sue Fillion, our planning director. Hi, Sue. To come to our fancy table.
It's not that fancy.
Stop it. It's fancy when I say it's fancy, okay? I have low standards. Hi, Sue.
Hello. So I wanted to come tonight in case you had any questions. We received the municipal planning grant back in December, and we put out an RFP. We had a good response. We interviewed 3 firms, and the panel chose PlaceSense as the firm to do the downtown design plan. PlaceSense has worked for the town before. They did the land use regulations and a Route 30 corridor study. PlaceSense is a single-person firm, and they have formed a team, a multidisciplinary team with a stormwater engineer, some architects, and then there's some people who will focus on the public outreach who had been involved with the Brattleboro Listening Project. So we're pretty excited.
Yeah.
This plan, I know that there were some questions at previous meetings what it might include. So what we're really doing is focusing on the public realm, and we don't really know what developments are going to come into downtown. So we really want to focus on what are the kind of small but impactful ways that we can improve downtown with placemaking. with improving bike and pedestrian connections and looking at opportunities for green stormwater infrastructure. We know we have some stormwater issues in the downtown, so are there places that we can use green stormwater infrastructure to kind of mimic the natural environment, absorb stormwater rather than just piping it into the brooks, because then you have cleaner water as well. So those are some of the focuses. We'll be looking at the Depot Street area and Bridge Street, because one of the big developments we know that will be happening is the Hinsdale Bridge being moved. So how does that change Bridge Street with less traffic? Are there some opportunities there, especially if there's going to be bike and pedestrian bridges down there? We liked their proposal the best because we thought it was fun, and they really focused on having inclusive engagement. They kind of identified a couple of key stakeholders in the downtown: the businesses, the residents, advocacy groups, and art. So we'll be addressing public art in it, and maybe where there can be some installations. And then it's also going to be fun. So we're going to have a better block challenge in the summer, where we're going to work with community groups, hopefully build some excitement for them to test out some placemaking ideas. So we're pretty excited. I think we expect the plan late in 2019. And that would be a plan that the Planning Commission would then recommend to the Select Board for adoption.
This sounds really exciting. I can't wait to keep watching this.
Sounds like a really thorough proposal.
Yeah.
Did Place Sense come out on top in the points process?
Yeah,
It's good when that happens.
they did. Well, I would say, so there were five of us that reviewed. I would say for 4 of us, they did come on top, but I think for somebody else, they were tied first. So, yeah.
Great.
We had great options, I have to say.
Randy?
Yes, please.
I just want to comment that I'm very familiar with Place Sense's work and also recommend it highly. And I also have great respect for your review process and the members of the Planning Commission who reviewed all the proposals. Thank you.
I did my homework and I read the Vermont Downtown Action Team report of 2014 and noticed in there some interesting things, in particular talking about like the extension of the West River Trail and, you know, thinking about how we can use our waterfront in a way that like might actually be fun. And I also have been thinking a fair amount recently about like our use of, well, our public space and how for a, you know, professed kind of rural place, we actually have very little green space in our downtown. And I found an old picture of Pliny Park from the year 2000, where like there were people hanging out there and it was like green and pleasant. And I would hope that as part of this process, you know, we can take a look at our public space and imagine what it might be like to have a downtown where there are more opportunities for folks to hang out without having to spend money, in a place that's pleasant and comfortable and maybe even green.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it with the placemaking and
Yeah.
Great.
yeah, places for people.
I'm glad to hear
All
that
users.
because that's really important to me too.
That's back when it was Donut Park.
Yeah.
I would kill for a donut right now.
Same donuts.
Send donuts. Any further comments from the public about this really exciting?
Can I ask
Yeah.
a dumb question, with your permission?
Oh, please do.
I'm never afraid to ask those. What's a charrette?
So a charrette is kind of an
Did I
iterative
say it
design. You did. It's an iterative design process where you will have like the professionals will be there and they'll be taking feedback and they'll be doing drawings and you know, the public might come back and give feedback and they might tweak them again.
So an
If you
interactive meeting?
Yeah, if you were around and saw any of the work that was done on the Whetstone in 2016, that was a charrette. And actually, Place Sense will be doing a charrette with this. It might be a little bit different, but there'll be a 3-day charrette probably at some point in September.
Cool.
Nice. Thank you.
That was a good question. Mr. Franz?
Audience.
Just wondering if this is an appropriate time to ask about the Whetstone Path plans and whether what you're doing or talking about now interacts with that in some way.
I think it will interact with this. I mean, there's been no further movement on that at this point.
Yeah.
Yes. I should say, I mean, we have been talking with, about exploring a couple of different grant opportunities that will come up later in the fall to help move that and other trails connections to the downtown forward.
Great. Well, I'm really excited about this.
Me too.
Yeah. If there's no further comments, we are going to be needing a motion to go ahead and authorize Town Manager Peter Elwell to enter into the contract with Place Sense. So I would entertain a motion for that.
I got you. I move that we authorize Town Manager Peter Elwell to enter into a contract in the amount of $40,100 with Place Sense of Windsor, Vermont for preparation of a downtown design plan.
Excellent. Daniel has made a motion authorizing Peter Elwell to enter into a contract in the amount of $40,100 with Place Sense for preparation of the downtown design plan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Any opposed? It'd be crazy.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Have a good rest of your night. Thank you. Okay. Whew, now we move on to even more exciting items like the collective bargaining agreement. Ooh, let me see, make sure I read this right. With International Union of Operating Engineers Local 98.
Yes,
Take it
so
away.
there are, the next three items all relate to employee compensation, and in the case of the two collective bargaining agreements, to more broadly the relationship between groups of employees in the town and the town government. And I'm happy to report that we've had very amicable negotiations. There's a really healthy atmosphere. Each of the agreements is expiring. We have 4 unions in the town. All 4 of those agreements are expiring as of June 30th of this year. And so earlier in the winter, we began negotiations. 2 of those are finished and have been approved by the employees and are in front of you this evening for approval. I will say, for the benefit of the public, the Select Board has been very involved in this process throughout. It's one of the reasons why you see us go into executive session when we say we're going to discuss collective bargaining agreements with employees, is to make sure that as staff is negotiating these agreements with the unions, that we're doing so in a manner that is acceptable to the board, so that we don't go through all of that process and then land here and run into a concern or a problem. So what's before you this evening is very familiar to you. On behalf of the public, I'll just summarize that there are a number of different changes being made to each of the agreements that relate more to operations and different aspects of scheduling and other kinds of consideration like that. Each of them has been online. Each of the proposed agreements that will be voted on here in a moment has been online since last Friday, and will be available for public inspection if anybody wants to view them. Once they're no longer on the website, people can certainly contact our office and have a look at this. So we want folks to know that there is more going on in these than just compensation. But of course, changes in compensation is one of the most important matters, both to the employees and the town. And in these agreements, the Local 98 is the administrative employees union. So that cuts across all the different town departments for the employees who perform mainly office functions. And those employees are the only ones among the 4 groups of unionized employees that don't have a step system as part of their pay structure. So as they proceed through their career, the raises that they receive are the across-the-board raises that are granted by the town. And so in the collective bargaining agreement that's been negotiated with Local 98, each of the 3 years, on July 1st of each of the 3 years, it would be a 3% increase for those employees because of the fact that they don't receive step increases. The period, I should say, the period of the agreements is a 3-year agreement in both cases, beginning on July 1st this year, 2019, and continuing through June 30th of 2022. And then in the firefighters agreement, which is the other one that's before you tonight, there is a step system for the firefighters, and the raises that are included within the updated firefighters contract are 2.3% in FY19, and then, I'm sorry, FY20, in the July 1st, 2019 raise, and then 2% in each of the succeeding years. And again, there are other changes in each of the two agreements that relate to other aspects of the employment relationship. And those, in some cases, were addressing sections that the town wanted to see updated, and in other cases, sections that the union wanted to see updated. And in actually quite a substantial number of cases, our interests were overlapping. You know, each party came to the table in our initial discussions and recognized that just based on things that had changed over the passage of time, that we should update a section together. So again, we met for each of these two contracts, we met 4 times separately with each of the 2 unions and had really productive collaborative negotiations this time around. So it's been a really good process. We recommend that you approve both agreements.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Board members want to discuss these agreements? I mean, I'm really glad that they went very well, and I appreciate the work that our town employees do, because we ask a lot in this town of our town staff. And I think we always get superior service and work in response to the big ask that we give in Brattleboro.
I also wanted to comment that it seems like a very fair and process.
Yeah, I just want to say I was totally pleased with how it went, and thanks again to Patrick and yourself and all your support staff for making it go smoothly, helping it to go smoothly.
I concur. And just to follow up with what Brandy said, at the awards, the firefighters awards ceremony, the chief reads off some of the really specific things that people did over the course of the year. It's striking. It really is.
Okay. Any discussion from the members of the public? Franz?
Franz Reichsman, Finance Committee. I would like to hear from the board or administration as to why this is the right process to go through with regards to this set of financial decisions. To me, this is the most consequential single financial decision that the Select Board makes. Because, I say that because every year at town meeting we hear that, oh, well, the biggest expense in the budget is salaries and benefits, and those have already been determined through contract negotiations. And the town meeting representatives really have no way to participate or even have a window into how this is occurring. I have no idea what went on in those negotiations. You know, it's easy to glance at some numbers and say, oh, that seems fair. So I'm not really complaining, but I just wonder why this is the right process and what alternatives there might be and why those alternatives aren't used instead.
I think that's a good question to bring up in a public setting. Peter, do you have an answer to that?
Did you want to?
I don't have an answer. You know, I would imagine, you know, I might defer to you in a moment. I'm going to go down the road anyway, and then I'll walk it back. Sure. Unions, right? Unions exist and are fighting for the rights of their members, right? And the town is trying to do a good job by the town. And if we did all of that stuff in public at these meetings, that sounds to me to be pretty unwieldy and pretty messy, and I wouldn't fancy it. And I would kind of push back a little bit, like when you were a doctor employed at a hospital. I don't know if you would have wanted your kind of stuff out in the open like that as well. And I don't know, I was a union employee for a time, and I appreciated all the work that the union staff did and our union reps, and we, yeah, I don't know. So I'll walk it back.
Well, I'll say that I think that just as our excellent employees have excellent unions who have representatives. We are our town's taxpayers' representatives. And so we have to be negotiating in good faith and then also on a level playing field. So to have, as you said, everything not only to be unwieldy, but it would also make it impossible to, kind of reach for more on their side and us to give a little bit more if the entire process was broken open, I think.
David?
Yeah, there is another model of open negotiations, of collaborative negotiations done in public, and it's been successful in a variety of applications. That when people sit down to negotiate, one of the first things, there are a series of ground rules, and the first one is they typically agree to confidentiality, that everything that happens remains as if it were an executive session. And if the two sides want to do it differently, then they certainly could. But typically, that hasn't become very popular. It's been successful in a lot of places, but it's not widely agreed to.
Peter?
Thank you. I think the most important reason why this is a better system, and in my opinion, my strong opinion is that this is a better system. The most important reason why is because it's not just about how much money people get paid or what the schedule is or what process you have to go through to request time off or those sorts of things that are all embedded in here about the different work rules and the aspects of the relationship. It's actually what it represents when it's being done well is the maintenance of harmonious relations between the group of folks who are performing the services and the people who are responsible for overseeing that work. And that can be hard to do when you've got something gnarly to work through together if you have to do it in public. You might think about a parallel situation of a family that's bumped into something that is a painful disagreement between people who really care a lot about each other and who are going through life together. And if they have to sort that out in front of an audience, that's got an entirely different set of ramifications to it than them sorting it out for themselves and then coming out and saying, this is how we worked it out, we're good. So notwithstanding the fact that this has implications that family decisions don't have because of the impact to the taxpayers, the outcomes are completely transparent. The reason why we publish, strike out, and underline copies of the contracts is so that everyone in town who cares to look can see how the new contract is different from the one that is expiring. Mm-hmm. We think that's really important that people be able to see that level of detail in the outcome. But it's the confidentiality of the process enables the sort of frank exchange that is sometimes necessary. I'll tell you, actually, this time around, it was really a really comfortable, truly completely collaborative, as opposed to the kind of collaboration that involves, resolving tough differences. We've had those too. This time around with these two units, it wasn't like that. We sat down and identified the things we wanted to work on. We worked on them together. We came to good outcomes together. And the fact that we were able to do that without a spotlight or people taking political positions about it, in the process, is really useful. And I guess the one other thing I would say, and I saved it for last because it might be the least relevant, but I think it actually might not, is just my own personal experience with this. So, most everybody knows I spent a long time being a town manager in Florida, and Florida's law doesn't allow you to negotiate in private. And so I've negotiated collective bargaining agreements in public meetings, sitting in settings like this. And I'm glad to know that you've seen some successful outcomes. They were almost every time a disaster there because they become very politicized very quickly. And the emphasis isn't on harmonious relations and effective teamwork. It's on, who wins in the outcome.
Public
and
relations.
That's a tough way to do this piece of business.
Franz?
Well, I wasn't really thinking of the Real Housewives of New Jersey model, which
I beg your
certainly could be
I know what that
awkward.
means.
Sorry?
Can you
Don't
say what
diss
that
New
means?
Jersey.
What? Oh, it's sort of negotiating things out in front of family and public kind of.
Reality TV.
Yeah, reality
Oh,
TV thing. So,
that kind of reality, yeah.
sorry you haven't been able to stay caught up with that.
And,
But I was thinking more of some kind of hybrid. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that this information, the contracts, has only been publicly available since Friday. Is
That's
that correct? I mean, that's a pretty short window. You know, I looked at them on Friday. I had a couple other things to do over the weekend. But, you know, I don't think there was a really good opportunity for public feedback on any of this. So I can certainly understand why negotiations might take place in a closed setting. But it seems to me maybe there could be some, I don't know, leaks from time to time, or some kind of controlled summaries that are published, or you know, even if it doesn't come out to the end, some kind of real effort to elicit comment from people in the public who might want to take a look at it. I don't think that's been the case this time. Thank you.
That's good feedback. I'm glad you asked that question in public, and I appreciate everybody weighing in. And I think it's good to ask questions like that in public, because generally people aren't one person wondering one thing. So when you spoke a minute ago, you said that you recommended approval of both items D and E. Does that mean that we should be doing a...
You could, but it would probably be more appropriate to take the extra 2 minutes and adopt each one separately.
Okay, great.
Approve-
Just wanted to
approve
make
each
sure
one
we
separately.
weren't trying to do that. Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement with the intentional union of Operating Engineers Local 98 for the period of July 1 through June 30, 2022.
I so move,
Excellent.
with the exception of the fact that it's the International Union.
What did I say?
Intentional.
Well,
I'm
I
sure
really
that they
do
were
enjoy
intentional
the
as
word
well.
intentional,
Yes.
but you are correct. It is international. Thank you for that
Really
correction.
close, there's only one letter difference.
I know. All those in favor?
Well,
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And then we'll go directly to, I would entertain a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement with the Brattleboro Professional Firefighters Association for that same period, which is July 1 of 2019 through June 30 of 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve a collective bargaining agreement with the Brattleboro Professional Firefighters Association for the period from July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2022.
Now I see how I've been doing it differently tonight.
Yes.
Just saw that. I have to think about which one I like best. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we move on to pay increase for non-union employees. Would you like to speak to that, Peter?
Yes, please. So there are about 20 employees in the town who are not members of any of the 4 unions. Those include the members of the senior management team, a couple of confidential employees, and part-time, regular part-time employees. So people who are employed regularly throughout the year, but work for less than 20 hours per week or less for the town. And so for that group of employees, there isn't a collective bargaining agreement that addresses wages. That's an action that the board takes each year at this time to decide what the pay increase will be for the upcoming fiscal year. I'm recommending this evening that the pay increase effective July 1st of 2019 for the non-union employees be 2%.
Excellent, thank you, Peter. Is there conversation on the board about pay increase for non-union employees?
I think it's a fair and good act.
I completely agree.
Ditto.
You'll see how I feel when I vote.
David, anything you want to add to
No, it's all
that
been said.
suspenseful?
We go to commercial and then when you
Yes.
come back.
Are there members of the public that would like to speak on the pay increase that is proposed for the non-union employees of the town? Okay, hearing no further comments, I would entertain a motion for the 2% pay increase for non-union employees of the town. That increase is effective in July.
I move we approve a 2% pay increase for all non-union employees effective July 1st, 2019.
All right, everybody watch Daniel. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh! Any
But,
opposed?
you know.
Motion carries. Excellent. Okay, we are moving right along now, and our next item is town committees and board appointments, of which we have many people on our list for various things. I don't really remember how we do this part. Do we just pick people that we read off? Tim can read them.
Tonight, there are actually no situations where you need to do a balloting to pick from. There's no committee for which there are more candidates than seats.
Okay.
So I think you could have someone, which I'd be willing to do, or one of you could do it, read off the names of the committees, the seats available, and the names of the people who have applied to be appointed, and then take as a motion to approve the slate. Do you have any concern about that, Jan?
No, it's usually by nomination, but motion works. Also.
Yeah, I'm
Excellent.
thinking that, the nomination process, committee by committee, would be kind of tedious and unnecessary tonight.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that you don't have competition for these seats.
Okay, great. Is there a board member that's super excited about reading down this list? And it would be reading the committee and the person appointed to that committee and any term expirations that are applicable.
I could manage it.
There's a stare down going over here,
it's
but
fine. David's
David's
got
taking it away. Woo! Okay.
Strike quickly.
Knock yourself out, dear.
So for the ADA Advisory Committee, term expiring in June 21, Julie Tamler. Terms expiring in June 20th, Carmen Nina Wilson, Mary McLaughlin, and Gary Stroud. For the Cemetery Committee, Brian Bannon. For the Citizens Police Communications Committee, Gary Stroud. The Development Review Board, Nora Dissinger and Michael Averill. For Fence Viewer, Tim Kipp. Honor Roll, Sherwood Lake Senior and E. David Wright. For the Recreation and Parks Board, Bethany Ranquist. Rescue Incorporated Tech Trustee is Deborah Miller Chapman. Senior Solutions, Pam Sweeney. Traffic Safety Committee, the Citizen Rep is Louise Zack. School Rep is Alice Sharks. Tree Advisory Committee, Tim Kipp. And Weir of Coal, David Levenbach, who left and went home.
Oh, is that who that was?
Yeah,
Wow.
he missed his moment.
Is there discussion?
Of course.
I just want to give a shout out to David Levenbach, who possibly answered one of the questions in the best way ever.
Yeah.
And this is a partial response I'll read. So the question is, why are you interested in this position and what particular skills would you bring to the organization? This is for Weir of Coal. And David responded in part, I am well recognized for my ability to handle tasks for which no level of responsibility is expected.
I have now stolen that slogan and I'm putting it everywhere where I do anything.
I'm
So,
seeing
thank
if
you,
it's
David.
going to fit under my name tag, like right under vice chair.
It was
No.
I think
fantastic.
that the responsibility for a carbon-rich resource like coal would be pretty.
It was the best
Pretty
response
heavy.
I've ever read. So
pretty
people who are applying for committees, step it up with those responses because you've got a hard one to beat. Okay. Great. Any further comments?
Well, it was nice to see so many folks stepping up, right?
Yes, it
And,
was.
and maybe there are also more vacancies to be filled?
Always.
All right.
Always,
We need more
always so
people.
many.
I would like to thank my sister-in-law
I wondered.
volunteering for the ADA committee.
Thanks, Mary. Good. Okay.
So do we have a vote on those?
Yeah, well,
Yes, we're going to do that now. I would entertain a motion for making these appointments to the committees as they were so wonderfully read by David.
so moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Welcome aboard, good people. Okay. Is that where we are? I would take a motion to adjourn. So moved.
8?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're out of here. See you in 2 weeks.
Record quick meeting.
Yeah.
Thanks, BCTV.
What? With healthy discussion. It's still an awkward discussion.
Sign with electronic pen.
Morning BUHS. Today is June 13th.
Summer job opportunity. Are you looking to work this summer? The Bratt Retreat is looking for certified lifeguards for their summer pool program. Lifeguard positions require CPR, first aid, and lifeguard certification. Work dates are Memorial Day through Labor Day. If interested, contact Jeff Wallace at 802-258-6849. Ta-da!
Right. Now we're going to watch a special video from today's producer of the day, Adam. Shout out.
Woohoo. Oh, Charlie.
Hi, I'm here with Charlie. I'm going to ask him about next year's basketball season. So, Charlie, how do you think the basketball team will be next year?
I think we'll be pretty good. Losing the seniors will kind of hurt us a decent amount.
I did already before
Especially
school
Grady
did.
Rowe, yeah.
Chair over there.
Big influence, you know. But our
Always
bigs-
really great attitude.
Yeah.
We
So
don't have a
I think we'll be
tonight.
fine.
Adam, you should say
Have you
that.
been training in the off season?
Yeah, a little bit. And this summer I'm going to be training with Winston and Copeland a little bit. So we'll have a lot of work to
If they
do.
accidentally cut to world news, just go.
Do you play AAU? For what team?
Yeah, I play for the Raptors. So we have tournaments like every other weekend.
I heard you might be playing in Boston.
Yeah, like
You should just
2 weekends we might be in Boston because we just won the last one. So
Cool. So you might have already answered this, but do you think losing 4 crucial players last year will affect the team next year?
yes, a very large amount because Hunter and Jack, the Rocks, new best shooter in the state. You know, 3-point champion, all stars. You already know, but especially Grady, just such a big impact on the team. You know, even in practice, he always slaps me and. Yep. So yeah.
All right.
Big
Well,
impact.
good luck next year.
Thank you.
I'll be back for the games. I'll miss you.
Yes, sir.
You're good.
Oh, what's up? Next Thursday, June 13th, there's a free kids cooking class from 3:30 to 5 p.m. at the Brattleboro Food Co-op on Canal Street. These classes teach kids 2 methods of making ice cream.
Fun.
The classes are free, but you need to register with 802-246-2821 or shareholders at brattleborofoodcoop.coop.
Now here's the weather with David.
Hey! So today it's supposed to have a chance of rain and a high of 59. On Friday it's supposed to be sun and clouds and a high of 69. On Saturday over here it's supposed to be sun and clouds with a high of 81. On Sunday it's supposed to be rain with a high of 78. And on Monday it's not supposed to rain right here, but it's supposed to have a lightning bolt and a cloud. And it's supposed to be on 83. Now back to the desk.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Monday, June 7th and Tuesday, June 18th are finals here at BUHS.
True dat.
On Monday, Purple Day, Block 1, final starts at 8:45 and ends at 10:10. Purple Day, Block 2 is 10:25 to 11:50. Lunch is from 11:50 to 12:20, followed by a 12:25 to 1:50 finals block for White Day Block 1. And 2:05 to 3:30 is White Day Block 2 finals on Tuesday. The blocks are the same length in this order: Purple Day Block 3, Purple Day Block 4, White Day Block 3, and White Day Block 4.
Bars.
Oh my god.
I would like you to go to the Brattleboro Contra Dance at the Stone Church. Tomorrow, that probably happened already, from 7 to 10 p.m. Admission was $10, or maybe is, but $8 for college students and $5 for youth.
Nice.
For more information and to find out if it actually happened already, contact Susan Rode at susan@quietdesign.org. Nice.
Special Topher.
Yeah, special with Chris. Let's see it.
So for the special today, I'm going to be doing like a list of things you could do during the summer that won't cost very much money. First one is go to a free music festival. I don't know where any of those are, but catch fireflies. I don't know.
bugs.
I'm a big bug guy. Pick strawberries. It's a good one. Set up a lemonade stand in your neighborhood. Yeah.
That's making bank.
And blow bubbles.
Yes, sir.
That's all I got. Back to the desk.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes.
That's great.
Oh, free Friday samplings. Another free thing to do during the summer. Try before you buy on sale every Friday in June from 2 p.m. to 2 p.m. Try something new, something seasonal, and something on sale at the Brattleboro Co-op demo counter on 2 Main Street, Brattleboro, VT, and call for any questions at 802-246-2821.
Gotta love 2 p.m. to 2 p.m.
Here's
Now,
sports with Charlie. Cut you off, beat it.
All right. So school sports are all over. So I got a report on like Bruins, which is kind of sad because they lost Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and that sucks. But the Red Sox won on a walk-off, an actual walk-off. Mookie Betts got walked, and the bases were loaded, so they won 4-3. And free agency is starting soon in the NBA. There's a lot of rumors about Kyrie Irving leaving the Celtics, but I won't be mad about it because we could get AD. What? That's not true. He just opted out of his contract. But anyway, yep, that's all I got. Back to the desk.
thanks, Charles.
In depth about basketball.
So, if you are into independent bookstores, check out the
just highly
Brattleboro
passionate.
Books on Elliott Street. The store features books for all ages in a range of categories and formats, including tough-to-find, used, and out-of-print books. It's open 7 days a week, and in 2011, great year, Yankee editors picked it as one of the best rainy day browses. So I think that tells you everything you need to know.
Oh boy, here we go. Come enjoy Community Pint Night at Whetstone Station in Brattleboro every Wednesday at 11:30.
Probably to
1:30.
1:30. Thanks, Zach.
Okay.
All right, I got something even more exciting than pints. The Brattleboro the Minecraft Club will meet on Thursday, June 13th. That's today at the Putney Public Library from 6 to 7 p.m. You still got time. Get over there. See Putney Library's website for more information. Now,
Forest video.
hey, I'm going to talk about this. This is a video that I made. It's about Brattleboro, which technically I grew up in Guilford, but it's pretty much the same thing. And it's kind of like an ode to my time here before I leave. Check it out. I wonder where you might end up if you took a wrong turn on the road to nowhere. Well, you'd probably end up somewhere. Perhaps somewhere like here, somewhere beautiful, somewhere mysterious. A small town. At the end of the road to nowhere. It's a funny little place, and I've lived there all my life. This town has its mysteries. This town is alive. You never know what you'll find hiding around the corner. There's always somewhere more to look. Somewhere you haven't been. Somewhere you shouldn't be. there's beauty too, if you know where to look. Natural beauty, old, ancient, timeless beauty, history. The people here are happy, despite their problems. It saddens me that I will have to say goodbye, because I do feel that this place is part of me. For better or for worse, it's part of me. The people, most of all. And the mighty mountain looking out over Main Street. The cold, harsh winters and the brilliant summers. The crazy people, the sane people, and everyone in between. Wandering around the strange parts of town where you've never been, where you shouldn't be. Being told, get out of here. It's all part of the experience. It's something that I will never forget in my time here. Because to me, more than anything else, this place is home.
That's a bad name. Okay, seniors on Sunday, June 16th. Oh my god.
The baccalaureate.
The Barracuda will be held in the BUHS courtyard. And main location in the BAMS NPR. Graduates and families are welcome to attend but not required. Wednesday, the 9th, and Thursday, the 20th.
The 19th and the 20th.
The 19th and 20th will be marching practice starting at 10 a.m. on that Wednesday. Bring $20 cash or check for your cap and gown. Awards night is the 20th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. That was messy, but we got through it.
Yeah. Now let's zoom out because we got funny news with Rye Guy.
Come on, man.
What's
So
up,
today
Ryan?
we're talking about an Australian mistake.
Nice.
They printed a whole lot of bills.
Bands,
They're
mhm.
$50, which is equivalent to our $35, I guess. And they printed out about enough to be worth as much as half of all the other currency in rotation. So it's just a ton of stuff, and it's got a pretty big spelling error on it in the word responsibility, which is quite ironic.
They misspelled responsibility on their official currency.
Yeah, for half of all their currency.
Yeah, Australia killing it. That's fun.
That was funny.
This is just more evidence as to why Australia is not real. I have a whole
No, I
theory
agree.
about
I
this.
definitely think that dragons are in Australia.
Oh,
They're just
thanks.
No, because it's like a big island. Like, where else would you keep them?
That's true. It's a big island. So is like all the continents.
There's a lot of scorpions.
Yeah, I know,
there.
but it's
Scorpions,
like-
I guess, are kind of like dragons.
Yeah, no,
Just without
exactly.
wings, they don't.
You know what I heard? Scorpions are the dragons of the land.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Australia
I
has
believe it.
dragons.
Maybe that's what all the.
That's a
maybe,
good- that's-
maybe there's flying scorpions at one point
Can
or
we watch the
something.
blooper video? I want to see it.
It's a good story, Ryan. Let's keep going. All right.
Oh, no.
Come check him out. Here's World News with James.
Any minute now.
World news.
Okay then.
Now over to Chris with World News. What's up, Chris? Now over to Chris with World News.
There we go.
Come on down to the Botanic Garden of Smith College for the Spring Bulb Show. The location is Lyman Conservatory. There will be a spectacular array of blooming crocuses, narcissus, irises, lilies, tulips, and provide an early glimpse of spring.
Those are my favorite flowers, too.
Now, back over to Forrest with the announcements.
Oh my goodness, I'm a green man. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. The Women's Film Festival is starting this weekend. Now we're gonna head over to James with the weather.
Well, I don't know what's going on. Okay, here we go. We got
Your tickets. Go to bmctv.org. Now over to World News with Hunty.
That's so tough. You called me Hunty. All right. So we got some exciting news going on today in the world. A woman from Mongolia has won a prestige. Yeah, we might have to fix that. Yeah, there we go. A woman from Mongolia has won a prestige. A woman from Mongolia.
Now over to sports with Jonah.
All right. On Charles. Oh, that's almost cool. Whoa. Yeah.
Turn key on.
Boy, Charlie. All right. So, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Cool.
Now, join us on Saturday, April 6th at Club VT in Putney for a tail-wagging good time at the 12th annual Wags to Riches Party and Auction. Wags will feature fabulous live and silent auctions, live music, cocktails, and delectable hors d'oeuvres and desserts.
Thank you, BUHS. That was today's news, and have a good day. Have a rockin' parties.
Nice. There is one more announcement. Just want to let you know that Wiggles is a 1-year-old retriever Labrador mix at the Windham County Humane Society. Here's a message from Wiggles himself or herself. Hi, my name is Wiggles. I can see where I got my name from because I'm super wiggly. And you know, I'm always meeting new people with a smile on my face. I think that I'm a Terrier Shepherd mix, but I don't know. I may be able to go to a home with another...
The slow introduction.
With a slow introduction. I think my energy would be way too much for a cat. I would go home with older children because I may knock the smaller ones down. Wiggles is a big boy, girl. Come on in and I'll make you grin from ear to ear. That's Wiggles. Just to clarify, that's not me, that's Wiggles.
All right. Thank you for watching, BUHS.
Last broadcast.
It's
Woo!
been a blast.
Great semester.
Thanks to our
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the 2019 Memorial Day ceremony here at the Vermont Veterans Memorial Cemetery. I'm Robert Burke, Director of the State of Vermont Office of Veterans Affairs. As you can see on your way in, construction continues for year 5 now at the cemetery, but lots of improvements going on and continue to make the place beautiful. Many thanks to the efforts of Building and General Services Commissioner Chris Cole for his efforts in helping us to secure the funding for this part of the project. Chris also serves as chair of the Cemetery Advisory Board. At this time, I'd like to recognize some distinguished guests in attendance today. Former Governor Douglas and his wife Dorothy, members of the Vermont Legislature, members of the Cemetery Advisory Board, Vermont families of the fallen. Also our cemetery staff who keep this place looking so good: Robert Durkee, Colin Johnson, Zach Grupp, and Michael Harper. From the Office of Veterans Affairs, my colleague Ed Burkhart. We are also joined by the American Red Cross, the White River Valley Ambulance Service, the Vermont State Guard, and Dave Gallison from BGS, all helping us out to make this go well today. Finally, and most importantly, all of the veterans and their families gathered here today. We've come together today to remember all those buried here and elsewhere who died as a result of their physical and mental wounds inflicted through service to their country. On the back of your programs is the poem In Flanders Field. This short but poignant poem was composed by then Major John McCrae, a surgeon with the Canadian Army who spent 17 grueling days at a field hospital in Ypres, West Flanders, Belgium, during World War I. It was the second Battle of Ypres during 1915, the first battle having taken place a year earlier. Prior to joining the Canadian Expeditionary Force at age 41, he had written to a friend stating, "I am really rather afraid, but more afraid to stay at home with my conscience." The death of a dear friend during this action led him to compose the poem. In looking out over his grave, he could see the poppies blooming in the fields of Flanders. The first verse casts a visualization for the readers before it flows into the torment he was experiencing at the time. We will now assemble the colors, followed by the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are able, please rise and remain standing for our national anthem. Commander, present the colors.
to see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Bring your units to order arms and parade rest. Order. Arms.
Thank you, Henry. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, Vermont State Guard Colonel Pat Boyden will offer an invocation and blessing of the colors.
Let us pray. Almighty God, creator and sustainer of all life, we ask that your blessings descend upon us as we gather here today. We thank you for this opportunity to once more gather in freedom, to honor our veterans of our nation's armed forces. May we never forget those who made the supreme sacrifice so as to secure for our nation the blessings of life, liberty, and justice for all. May our observance be a timely reminder that our freedom was purchased at a high cost and should not be taken for granted. Bless the family and friends of those we honor here today, and bless all the veterans and the members of our armed forces defending our freedom. And now I'll bless the colors. Almighty God, creator of all and companion in all life, we ask for your continued blessing here upon us and our assembled colors. We give you thanks for our nation and our colors and the freedom they represent. We give you thanks for the many times that we have gathered under our nation's flag. May it remind us of our service to our nation and its people, and may it remind us that as we are called forth to war, we continue to be called forth to serve in peace. Amen.
Thank you, Colonel Boyden. Last year marked the 100th anniversary of World War I, and we continue this year to recognize the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. We have had events to honor and remember those who fought in these wars. Please join me now in a quiet moment of reflection for all those we celebrate today who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you. Our congressional delegation is well represented today. Leading off is Mr. John Tracy from Senator Leahy's office.
Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here on behalf of Senator Leahy. Every year when we celebrate Memorial Day, acknowledge it, I kind of struggle with what to say. It's a solemn day, and I thought this year I would read a letter that a mother left at the wall, the Vietnam Memorial, for her son Jimmy, who she lost in August of 1968. It's a universal message. Those who have lost people understand the pain. My dear Jimmy, it's time to honor our war dead again, and darling, I could cry my heart out. You fought a war and died. Part of me died with you. I'm still fighting a war I know I can never win. Try and live without you. My heart is broken forever. No one knows how hard it is to love and lose unless you've gone through it. I carry you in my mind every minute of my life. I talk to your pictures, say I love you and miss you and want to see you so very, very bad. But darling, pictures can't talk back. I tend to your grave and I sit and I talk to you, but graves can't talk back. If love and tears could have saved you, you would be here today. I go on my knees and thank God for the pleasure of having you for 20 years. I thank him over and over again for the grandson you gave us. I thank God every day for my two wonderful sons, my Jimmy and my Wayne. Mama loves you and will forever keep you in my heart until I see you some sweet day again, never to part. As I prepare to go to Washington, I know it's you I wish to see, but I'll see your name, darling. It means you're not coming home to me. I honor and respect it. My hero, Jimmy, that means so much to me. I'm sitting here talking to you tonight the way we used to do, but I can't hold your hand and say, Jimmy, Mom loves you. I didn't want you to go, but you had a job to do. Jimmy, I'm so glad I held you in my arms and told you how much I loved you that day at Bratt Airport. When you came back, they wouldn't even let me touch you, darling. I didn't think that was fair. You were my son, and I will never forgive them. I gave birth to you and raised you and begged so hard just to put my arms around you and kiss you goodbye. Jimmy, I will say goodnight for this time. I will be talking to you tomorrow. I will never forget you. Your memories are my treasures. I will never let go of them. I love you and miss you more and more. Loving kisses, Mom. On behalf of Senator Leahy, I thank you for remembering, and to honor their lives, we should live ours so they can be honored. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Next, representing the office of Senator Sanders is Catherine Becker Van Haste.
Thank you, Bob. And thank you to everyone for being here today on such an important occasion. On behalf of Senator Sanders, thank you to all of you here today who have worn the uniform in service to this country and to the family members. Because from Bernie's perspective, we know you serve right alongside your loved one. When they go to battle, you go with them. When Bernie made a message on Memorial Day, on recognized Memorial Day on Monday, one of the comments he made was he worries that young people today don't fully recognize the true meaning of Memorial Day. And I think it's great to see that we have some young people with us today honoring and recognizing today and what it truly stands for. That it's not just the start of summer, barbecues and time for friends, those are all great things, but that this is a day to truly honor and recognize those who have, in the words of President Lincoln, given the last true measure of devotion to this country. Part of, I think, how we honor the sacrifice of those who gave their lives in this country is to make sure that we provide the services and the benefits to those who are left. All of the Gold Star families, the spouses, the siblings, the parents, and the children who have lost a loved one, we have a solemn duty to ensure that they have the services and benefits that their country promised them when their loved one signed up to serve this country. So today and every day, let's, on behalf of Senator Sanders, commit ourselves to making sure that we serve them as they served us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katie. Representing Senator Welch's office this afternoon is Elizabeth Morris.
Hello, and thank you for that. I have a letter from the congressman that I'd like to read for you all here today. He unfortunately was unable to be here in person. Dear friends, thank you to Governor Scott, Major General Knight, and Robert Burke for including me in today's event. I regret that I am unable to be with you today for this Memorial Day ceremony. Though they are no longer with us, those Vermonters who have given their lives as members of the armed forces continue to serve. They serve as a reminder of what it means to be a patriot, what it means to take up arms in defense of your nation, and what it means to demonstrate incredible courage in the face of terrible adversity. Ceremonies like this one, happening all over the state and country, are important ways for communities to come together and remember those who gave their lives in service to our country. Words can't express the grief that family members, friends, and fellow service members experience when they lose someone to war. Memorial Day helps to acknowledge that grief and hopefully helps to combine it with pride. May we all continue to share in the sorrow of Vermonters lost in the field of combat and in the pride of their courage on our behalf. To the veterans, active duty service members, and families here today, thank you for being here to honor our fallen service members, and thank you for your service and sacrifice on behalf of our great nation. Sincerely, Congressman Peter Welch. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Many thanks to the governor, to two governors, for joining us today. Previously, Governor Scott served as Lieutenant Governor and as Vermont State Representative representing Washington County Senate District from 2001 through 2011. Please join me in welcoming Governor Scott.
Thank you, Director Burke, and I appreciate the invitation to join you all again here today as we pay tribute to Vermont's fallen heroes. I want to thank the members of the legislature and the Cemetery Advisory Board for being here today as well as Governor Douglas and Dorothy. Most importantly, it's an honor to have so many military families amongst us, and especially our Gold Star families. In the early summer of 1944, the world had been at war for nearly 6 years. Free nations were occupied by enemy armies. Democracies had fallen, and war was spreading in nearly every direction. On the morning of June 6, the Atlantic Alliance, led by our First Army, along with the British and Canadian forces, prepared to engage Nazi Germany on the shores of northern France. I often wonder if those soldiers, those young men, had any idea how much was at stake that day. I also wonder if they felt the weight of what rested on their shoulders, or if they had any concept as to how that day would help end the war in less than a year, end genocide, liberate millions from oppression, and bring peace to Europe that continues to this day. What happened on the beaches of Normandy 75 years ago next week, and those who sacrificed their lives, must never be forgotten. Just like Yorktown, Gettysburg, and so many others, the D-Day invasion was a pivotal moment in history when free people stood and fought against oppression and died to defend freedom, liberty, and equality. In the 243 years since the Revolution, nearly every generation in America has stepped up to serve this cause. Like Harold Bergeron from Essex, Vermont, who served in the 66th Infantry Division during World War II. Harold's transport was torpedoed by a German U-boat crossing the English Channel en route to the Battle of the Bulge. He was able to jump onto a rescue boat, sparing him the same fate of the nearly 800 men who died that Christmas Eve, 1944. Harold passed away earlier this year at 104. He was the oldest living World War II vet in Vermont at the time. I had the pleasure of meeting him last summer when the local VFW organized an event to paint the house he was still living in independently. It was remarkable. Albert Sponemer of East Reigate was awarded the Silver Star for gallantry. Thanks to his heroic work as a medic, he saved countless lives while continually exposing himself to heavy enemy fire on the shores of Normandy. Kimball Richmond of Windsor was at D-Day too. He had to swim to shore under a hail of machine gun bullets and artillery fire after his boat was struck and sunk. On land, he gathered what was left of his men and moved inland against enemy forces. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for his personal bravery and disregard for his own safety in service to those in his command and his mission. These are just a few of the thousands of Vermonters who have stepped up to serve. Our tiny state has shouldered more than our share of the sacrifice, answering our nation's call each and every time freedom has been threatened at home and around the world. I know today we're joined by the family members of those who have given their lives in defense of our nation. On behalf of all Vermonters, I want to thank you for your sacrifice. My father was a disabled World War II vet from Washington, Vermont, who served in Patton's 3rd Army. He was injured when his tank hit a landmine in the days after the D-Day invasion. Those injuries eventually took him from this world when I was 11. So I know your pain as well as your pride. Serving your country is an honor, but giving your life to protect our freedoms is honorable to the highest degree. I want you all to know we will never forget those who sacrificed so much. We live in freedom thanks to them, and it's important that we don't forget how they lived just as well as how they died, and as more than just names and dates engraved on granite and marble memorials. President Coolidge said, "The place with which these heroic figures hold in history is forever more secure. They did not hesitate. They did not yield. They met their duty squarely. For its fulfillment, they were prepared to give their fortunes and their lives. It ought never to be forgotten that it was out of this spirit, supported by these sacrifices, that our country was established." So today, after a long, cold winter, let us mark the first signs of summer by thanking all the heroes who never came home and those heroes yet to come. We can never do enough to honor you, but saying thank you is a perfect start. So thank you.
Thank you, Governor Scott. Our new Adjutant General joins us today to share his thoughts on this day of remembrance. Brigadier General Gregory Knight has had a long and distinguished career. He's served 35 years in uniform, to include the United States Coast Guard, Vermont Air National Guard, and Vermont Army National Guard, where he was commissioned. In 2000, he was selected for active Guard and Reserve duty and continued to serve in that capacity until his election as Vermont's Adjutant General a few months ago. Please welcome Brigadier General Greg Knight.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. It means a lot. Before I get into my prepared remarks, I would share with you that Memorial Day has a special meaning to me, certainly after our deployment from 2005 to 2006. So I understood it and knew it before then, but following that deployment, where we lost 15 of our soldiers and 1 of our Marines in our battalion, we lost 83 in our brigade, I can assure you it has certainly more meaning to me now than it ever did. And it is important that today, at least, we remember those who have gone before us. They did give their last full measure of devotion to our nation, to us. We must remember them. We are their legacy. Regardless of the conflict, the purity of their sacrifice and the honor of their service is without question. Our fallen gave their lives in order to guarantee our freedom and make the freedom of others possible. To quote from the book of John 15:13, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friend. There are hundreds of stories to tell about our fallen and so many examples to learn from. Many of them are here in this cemetery. I see names that I recognize. These are my friends, my colleagues. Dan Cotter, Michael Heston, Larry Suchier. Please let me remind you that the heroes we remember today are not exclusive to any service, any gender, race, religion, economic background. They're a diverse group united by the common principle that America and the people they serve are worth dying for. They will and should be forever in our hearts and foremost in our thoughts. As we observe Memorial Day every year, also, please keep our Gold Star families in your prayers. I've mentioned it before at other speeches, and I will mention it until the day I am done. Remember them because they remember their fallen loved ones every day. These families have also sacrificed. So it is certainly up to us to be there for them, to give them the support that they need, and express our highest gratitude. I'm going to leave you with my favorite quote, because I truly believe it succinctly captures the spirit of our fallen. It's from Thucydides, an Athenian historian in general. The bravest are surely those who have the clearest vision of what is before them, glory and danger alike, and yet notwithstanding, go out to meet it. Thank you again for being here today, and God bless all of you.
Thank you, General Knight. Before taps is played, the Spalding High School ROTC firing party will offer a 21-gun salute to honor those who have fallen. If you are able, please stand.
Firing party, render honor.